Hey guys, my name's Gavin, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made this emotional dark piano loop for an artist like Kid LAROI. So yeah, follow me on Instagram at gavinhadley_. Now I'm going to throw this dart and then we can get into it. So I'm 0 for 2, first time missed the board, second time hit the board but not very well. Today, this is the day. We're working our way up. Alright, so I'm going to start by playing you guys the finished loop that I came up with. It's a super unique sound, I would say, because of the way that I did the pianos. I split them up super cool, so here it is. Okay, so that's the loop. Now we're going to talk about how I made it. So to start, I started with this expand harp. You can barely hear it in the end. That's because I had a bunch of effects to it, and I'm going to take all the effects off and we're just going to play this. I did a technique that I know Palace does and a couple other people. If you want to create some interesting sense of rhythm, you can just have a bunch of notes playing. And that's what I did here. I just have a rhythm. They're all playing on E6, and then here I duplicated this part over and then pitched it up an octave and then just worked it down the scale. It's the same rhythm, just we start at this E7 now and we just go down the scale. And I switch between these chromatic notes. They're notes that are right next to each other in the scale. You can do that if you're looking to create a cool dark sound. Chromatic notes are super useful for that. So this just loops the entire time. I just have a pretty generic progression here, just working our way down the scale, and then you'll notice this last chord sounds super cool and dark. It's because I use this middle note, which is a G sharp, which isn't technically in the scale. It's called the leading tone, and to do it, basically, there's a bunch of different ways of voicing it, but I like to keep it as the third, which basically just means there's two notes on the top and bottom of it, sandwiching it together. So we have this E there and that B there, doing their thing, and it sounds like this. And then I just worked these rhythms to act as the top note for the chords too, for both of them. Basically, a lot of EQing and a lot of effects. This EQ cutting out low end, this EQ cutting out a harsh frequency, this EQ just messing with it. This is just really me just messing with the sound a bunch as I progress through the whole melody, adding other components and stuff. So now we have this halftime, some reverb here, separating it the other way, which makes it sound more full and direct and centered. And now we have this EQ cutting out more low end, we have cassette, and then we have crystallizer. And all of these together make it sound like this. And I turned it down a bunch and messed with this knob as well. The crystallizer, the default preset on the crystallizer is giving it that reverse sound that's super cool. Moving on from this, we went to this Labs piano. It's just the same chord progression that you guys saw here, except I decided to keep this E6 right there instead of this notes. Why? Just because I kept the top of the chord on the expand was, or the E here, so I keep calling it G. I don't know why, but I just left it like that. I wanted to try something in a little bit of a higher octave. I don't normally do progressions like that. No effects actually. Just turned it down a little bit, mixed it in. Let's go to the bass first, just following the bass lines. Just a bass, a piano from Keyscape in a lower octave. I'm using 3 or 4 different pianos from different VSTs. I have 2 addictive keys, but those are different presets, I'm pretty sure. I wanted to have something pretty direct and full sounding that really filled up a lot of space. And I left it pretty loud in too. I thought it turned out pretty cool. And what I did was cut out a little bit of the low end, because without it I thought it was a little bit too much. And that if someone wants to leave this sound in when they're making something with the loop, they can do that, because again, there's not as much low end interfering with the bass. Moving on to our top melodies, so we have 2. They're both from addictive keys. I'll talk about this one first. Play it out here. I made this with my voice actually. I don't know if I'll be able to find the original clip. Just going whoo, whoo, whoo. Obviously I was not in key there, pretending I'm a bell one-shot type of thing, with auto-tune on my voice of course, and I throw it into Melodies to create the MIDI that I was singing out, and then I just go off that. So yeah, I sung this part out. I'm also going to make another tutorial on how I do this, because it's super simple and it saves you a lot of time. I have this for this first part, and then I varied it up a little bit, keeping like close to the same rhythm. I just took out a couple notes for this part. Alright, so I use these chromatic notes again here. Yeah, I just really wanted to keep this part pretty simple. There's a little bit more going on in the melody for this other piano, so I wanted to like give a little bit of contrast and like help blend these two together by putting less notes here. Sometimes having less notes can create like a little bit more of like a dark, mysterious feel depending on the notes that you place in. Like these are a good sequence of like dark notes to use, and then just working down the scale in general. And now after that, we have this other piano from Addictive Keys. So they're playing close to the same rhythm as you can hear. Now for the second part, all I did was duplicate it up, but then I changed a bunch of notes starting around this area. So I basically just deleted everything after this. This E did a really good job resolving and creating like a really like dark feel right here. And I just worked right back up the scale for the end. This is a super easy technique that you guys can do. Just going up the scale, using a grace note too. When you're going up the scale like I did there, that's a super easy way of making it sound cool. I feel like good melodies have a lot of like dynamic range, not always. So you can see here, this one, it kind of looks like a wave, and I feel like seeing if something has a lot of dynamic range is like, does it look like a wave? It's kind of an odd thing to say, but I feel like some of my best melodies go all the way up and like down the scale. They have a lot of movement to them, but they're still like, they don't feel scattered. I just EQ'd it, raised the top end just a tiny bit. It's nothing really even noticeable. Now I just have this like one-shot vocal thing from a one-shot kit that I could say I'm working on. Yeah, this is called the pillow vocal. If you guys want to see me make a one-shot kit, feel free to let me know. This is just me singing into the microphone, and it creates this cool dark sound that I use in these type of loops. Now I have this bell, turned it down a bunch, added EQ, took out some of the high end, and then I added a lot of reverb to it as well. And I just have this piano that follows the bass notes basically, or the top notes that we use for this progression right here, the piano, and then the expand as well. I just turned it down a bunch. It's really not even audible. The last thing I have now is a vocal that I thought really brought the loop together. This is what it sounds like without effects first. Alright, so yeah, to get that sound, basically it's just me singing into the microphone, and then I pitch everything up an octave after I am done singing, and I chop different elements that I sung into a cohesive pattern. And for this one, what I did is put Fruity Parametric EQ2, just took out a lot of the high and a lot of the low ends, little alter boy, and I use the 4-man knob right here, just boosting it slightly. It was nothing too crazy, it just creates like a more pitched up kind of robotic sound, but you can't really hear it as much. You just hear the pitched up side of it once you put the reverb on it. And this is just default Valhalla Vintage Verb when you load it up, 100% mix, 4-second decay. This is what it sounds like now. So it sounds a little bit better in my opinion, but yeah, I structured out all of the elements of the loop. It looks pretty messy. This is just all the pianos right here. And I feel like by splitting up all the different piano midis, I really like created an interesting sound. I don't really even know how to describe it. Like, you guys, I'm sure you're like kind of picking up on it. It's just, it doesn't sound like a normal piano, that's for sure. All right, so then I have the expand here, the vocal, this background element bell thingy, and then the other vocal that I sung out. So I experimented a little bit after I rendered these all out to audios. So I have this normal version right here, and then I have this version which is pitched up underneath it, and then I had a version that was pitched up or pitched down. I didn't end up using the pitched down one because I didn't like how the lower frequencies blended with the elements from the piano. And this technique is called parallel processing. All I did here was kind of create like a hill over it. Then I added reverb to it, just drowned it in reverb. Normally I separate it, but for this I didn't for whatever reason. That's what it sounds like together. It's a good way of giving a more ambience in the background to your loops. Definitely try it out if you haven't already. And then I separated it a bunch here with the separation knob. And now I added RC20 to the master. I wobbled it a little bit, give it a little bit of detune. I thought that sounded cool for the sample. A little bit of noise, distorted it a tiny bit, a little bit of magnetic, and then a little bit of width too. And now I messed with this EQ. This is something that I'm pretty sure I like exclusively do. I haven't really seen much other producers do this. Just messing with these knobs to create like a more vinyl-y sound. You can kind of almost use this as like a tape emulator if you use it right. Basically these knobs up here bring out like white noise in the sample and make it sound a little bit more like it's coming through like a cassette plugin. So feel free to try that out if you haven't already. That's about it for the loop. This is the final loop again. So yeah, I hope you guys were able to learn something today. Hopefully I taught you something. Thanks for watching the video. If you got this far, it means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Julian, welcome back.